Allow 7 million Nigerians complete their voters registration. Thank you for joining us from the Dailies on Equa Television for the debate which took place on the 13th of August 2022. The voting still continues up to 20th of August by 5:59 p.m. So visit our sites on Facebook and YouTube, watch and continue with the voter on who you feel is right and eligible to rule the plateau come the governorship election on the 11th of March 2023. I am Owolabi Tosin and I will be doing this with Sele Elisha. Good morning, Sele.
Morning, Tosin.
Hope you had a good weekend.
Thank you. Yes, I did.
Yes, and we're live on Facebook and YouTube. Do well to call us. Do well to drop your comments, and half past the hour, our phone lines will be opened. Do well to call us on stories that interest you. I will start with the Daily Independent newspaper, and on the Daily Independent we have poor transaction dispute resolution hurting fintech growth. Bad leadership liable for Nigeria's woes, not 1999 constitution. This is coming from Peter Obi. And the big story says travelers groan as economy class on international flight hits 1 million naira. Foreign airlines trapped fund rise to $600 million. Inspector General of Police orders watertight security around schools, hospitals, and infrastructures. Serap asks INEC to allow Nigerians complete voters registration. Details can be found in page 7. And Sele, we know concerning this was something that was dear to my heart, concerning the 7 million Nigerians that are yet to complete their voters registration for the forthcoming election. And now we see where Serap is telling INEC to allow the remaining 7 million Nigerians to complete their voters registration. And I say that is really good, because on the day when it closed and we had the study and even the number of Nigerians that are yet to complete their voter registration, it was counting down to 7 million and thereabouts. And I said, I just hope Serap will do something about it. And yes, they're up to their game. They are doing something, writing to INEC to allow the remaining 7 million Nigerians to complete their voter registration, because it is their franchise and they need to exercise it. And I would say it's really it's coming at the right time. And I would just hope that when this portal is open and the registration is ongoing, we just hope that the various tools and even the equipment that is needed for a smooth voter registration will be available. We know that back when we had the voter registration, before it closed, we saw that you see in some communities they don't have the available tools and people have to be coming on daily basis, and if you don't give the money that is asked by those people, then you have to come on a daily basis, and people go there as early as 5 a.m. and they stay there till the closing time. And we know that this machine has been it's been processed to a particular time where it's shut down. So we just hope that the machines will be available in all these places. We saw where people had to protest that they come there every day and no machines, one machine for a community, and imagine the number of people waiting for one machine to be able to get their PVC. So just hope that the machines will be available, then the people also will be sensitized, because the issue of bribe, in some places you have to give 1,000, some places you have to give 500. If you don't give, then you have to go through the long queue, go through the long process. Then we'll have to cut this down and stop this issue of bribery before you can get your PVC. And we just hope that something will be done, because we know that this issue of the election, we know that the issue of the PVC, it needs to be ongoing. They have to go with the process of getting their PVC till when it's like 3 months to the election before it can stop. So stopping at this time is not just it, and we're just hopeful that they will kick up and start this registration so that people in different places that have not gotten their PVC will be able to go out and get their PVC. And I know that Nigerians are happy. We saw where videos, and even where people called in and said they are not able to get their PVC, and it's just like their rights are being disenfranchised. So we just say that this is coming as a good time, and Nigerians are happy. And when its registration is out, please endeavor to go out and get your PVC. We saw where some state governments had to declare some days public holiday for people to get their PVC, because it is very important. If we need to change the narrative, then it begins with you getting your PVC, and you need to do the right thing.
It's cost to say.
NDLEA uncovers 442 parcels of meth in heads of smoked fish. Intercept 1.1 million tramadol tabs in Kaduna, Lagos, and Kano. Igbo elders condemn killing in Imo and other states, with details in page 5. And we have a picture story: traffic congestion along Lagos-Ibadan Expressway owing to the ongoing construction work on Sunday. Ekweremadu Ohaneze disagree with Malami, urges federal government intervention. The last story on misappropriation of 17.158 billion naira. NSITF fails to give acceptable explanation, blames termite. And concerning the story, we have the Senate Public Accounts Committee has put the current and past management of the Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund, NSITF, under scrutiny. The committee said it discovered that the fund's management failed to produce relevant documents to justify alleged spending of 17.158 billion in 2013. Some of the documents to back the expenses were said to have been eaten up by termites. The Office of the Auditor General of the Federation, in its 2018 audit report now being considered by the Senate panel chaired by Senator Matthew Urohide, Edo South, had queried the agency over the disbursed sum without appropriate supporting document. In his report, the Auditor General said the 17.158 billion represented the total sum of money transferred by the agency from its Skybank and First Bank account into various untraceable accounts belonging to individuals and companies between January and December 2013. And we know just last week we saw where some offices have not been audited since 2013, coming from the finance minister. And NSITF, now we have the misappropriation of 17.158 billion naira. That's the fund is what the fund was used for is yet to be known, and now they are blaming it back to the termites eating those vouchers, and now the vouchers cannot be found. Talk more of even knowing what the money was being used from, right from 2013. And we see where we talk about laxity in the place of the Auditor General's office, and laxity even in different sectors coming from 2013. Sele, then what do we do on a yearly basis in talking about auditing all these firms? What do we do in daily basis, in yearly basis, in auditing all these sectors? Because when they are audited, they get up to their toes and know that yes, if this money is used for the wrong thing, we will definitely be audited and we will be exposed. But keeping it since 2013, and now we are going to this office and now they are blaming it on termites. You know, that's the normal thing where we see where rats invade into an office, and now so many things. We see where snakes swallow funds even in our country. We see where monkey do all sorts of things even in our country, and now we are seeing where termites have eaten up the voucher, and now 17.158 billion naira is the expenses is unknown. We don't know what this money was used for, and now we see that the Auditor General is talking about how this office can be investigated, and they are presently under scrutiny. But will I say, is it their fault? It's not their fault, because when you need to do your auditing, you fail to do the auditing, then what do you expect? It's like a free money for people to eat at any time. Yes, it's a free money, because even if we use the money for our own self, it won't be audited. So let me just use the money. Then when it's time for us to be audited, then we say something invaded our office and the money was gone. We've seen the same happen in the office of the president, where they said rats
We're destroying
yes,
the
into
furnitures
Aso
and
Rock.
all
So we
that.
see all these things happening. It's now a normal thing. We saw where for jam where they say snake swallowed a large amount of money. So it's a normal thing in our country where if money is used for our own selfish purpose, then we just blame it on another animal. I wonder how all these things are happening, because all this, we saw where last week we had the issue in the National Assembly where fire got the a particular office, and I said we're supposed to have the alarm for fire for fire. If there's any fire like a fire disaster, there should be an alarm where we alert the sector, because in a building like this you're supposed to have different sectors, and we should have the sector that is into looking out for ways they can quench all this fire. But we see now here where termites now are the ones to be blamed. What happened to the pesticide even in those offices? What happened to fumigation? All this, we just hope that something will be done, because all this money now have gone, and imagine this money, it can be used for our development, it can be used for our growth. But why keep all this auditing till when it has long overdue? We need to do all these things the right way. What is your work as the Auditor General? You are not so that we say that everything is moving on the right way. No wonder we see that all these sectors are just lagging behind. They don't do anything. When you go there, you see them sitting under the tree, you see them gisting, and when it's 1 o'clock, they are off. They go home, they go do their different businesses. No one is auditing them, no one is keeping them on their toes. And that's why we see that all these sectors now are collapsing. Every day they are collapsing. Now look at what is happening in the aviation sector. Collapse. Look at our educational sector, nothing to write home about. Look at our hospitals, nothing to write home about. Look at the transportation sector, nothing to write home about. So we just need proper auditing from the Auditor General's office. We need proper accountability of all this funds. This is taxpayers' money. If it is used, then we need account of how this money is used. And even to the last person in the grassroots level, he should feel the effect of his tax in terms of growth and development.
Tosi, I have to jump on you on this one, because I have to tell you welcome to the animal and insect farm in Nigeria, because just like you said, it has now become the order of the day that when somebody has actually eaten or have actually spent or misappropriation of funds, then we always look for a way to blame this on either insects or to blame this on animals. You've mentioned various scenarios we've had in the nation whereby it's either rats, monkeys or something of that nature have eaten, and then nobody has done anything to those people. Because if we are yet to come to the point to see where somebody will be held responsible, then believe you me, we'll keep recording issues like this every day, every year on our papers. Now, we just saw last week where they said that first subsidy from 2013 till date, there have been no audition, and they need to know where that money is coming from. We're still looking at the debt that is coming, because we have incurred lots of debts on our head as a result of trying to finance one sector or the other, forgetting the fact that we have the education, where we saw the educational minister talking about the fact that that sector is one of the sectors that is being given one of the lowest allocations to take care of. Now, those, just like I said, if we don't learn to hold each other accountable, we keep having issues like this. When you now ask me who was in government in 2013, what did you do about this? That has gotten to the point that right now in 2022, we're talking about misappropriation of funds. I have said this to us and I'll keep repeating it. As a minister, if I should appoint you and at the end of the day, the money I gave you for various activities did not go as it's expected, you should be sacked and another person should be replaced. When we start behaving in that way, then people will sit on their toe. National Assembly, we heard about fire. I remember when we had the issue in the Accountant General's office where they say fire, bought some papers. And I said, don't we have the soft copies in the computer? Presently, right now, the Accountant General is going through some persecution as a result of misappropriation of funds about some fraud presently. So, Tosi, when you see issues like this, it is now serving as an eye-opener for you to know that something is going on in this sector. And if something is not being done about this, because I just hope it will not just be on our papers today, and then tomorrow we don't hear anything about it. Somebody somewhere will give somebody money somewhere, and then this case will now go under the carpet. But I hope that we'll dig deep into this. We cannot talk about saying that 7 million Nigerians are yet to, because they have registered online, they are yet to go continue their PVC. What would they do with that PVC where we don't kick out people like this? What would be the use of going to elect leaders? At the end of the day, you have very corrupt and leaders that you cannot even vouch for at the end of the year and say, okay, yes, I believe that when this leader gets in office, he can do something. And that's why it still goes back. Well, you need to check, just like you said about the grassroots level, you need to go back and see the track record of the leaders we elect. What did you do? Even as low as when you were the class prefect in your school, what did you do? When you were a student in various schools, what did you do? If you're an SUG, whether as the party, he or she will be able to carry responsibility. But when you keep saying, okay, after all, it's just this, she's my tribe, he's my tribe, and we keep going in that narrative, then nothing will change whatsoever. So I just believe that, just like we're talking about this misappropriation of funds, that this will be deeper, not just to reflect on our papers, just for reflecting sake, but something will be done about it.
Thank you very much, Sele. The last story on Daily Independent says hope in PDP as Wike and Atiku's camp meet to iron out differences. Details can be found in page 7, and that's all on the Daily Independent.
And a New Telegraph newspaper, CBN sold $4.86 billion at the forex market in 3 months. I&E window dips by 26.7%. The Central Bank of Nigeria sold its total $4.86 billion on the foreign exchange market in the first 3 months of this year. According to the economic report of the first quarter 2022 released over the weekend, the account is 8%, and also we have to check more of the story on the New Telegraph concerning the forex in the last 3 months. Bond insurance on hit 2.5 trillion naira in the H1 2022, with detail found on page 25. Reps summoned the NPA MD over $758 million, 1.61 billion naira owned by the federal government by 13 terminal operators. Detail found on page 5. Foreign carriers fret over the naira devaluation, and you can read more of that. And remember, last 2 weeks we were looking at some of the reasons why our naira has been falling as a result of the oil theft we are having, issue of so many issues that we've been using dollars. And I made reference to even take a look at during the primaries of the various parties. We saw where bribe was, they were paying bribes in dollars rather than using naira, and this have actually contributed to why our naira is falling. So I just hope we'll do something about this, Tosi. Back was then when you hold the naira and you're excited about what this naira can do to you. But Tosi, you can't even hold 20,000 naira and go to the market right now and have anything tangible and come back home with it. You end up coming back with a black nylon leather. That is all 20,000 naira can do for you. So we just hope that we'll get to that point where we'll actually look into why our naira have to really, really have value, because if we say we are the giants of Africa, we cannot keep living on past glory. We have to live up to that expectation. So I hope that we'll do that also in checking how we can, have our naira being valued again. Kalu assured of support as he toured the streets. You can read more of that on page 8. And this is coming from INEC to say why we have not taken action on the damaged PVCs. The voter registration SERAP have threatened court action against the commission. You can read more of that on page 4 and 8. The big story on the New Telegraph says on insecurity, IGP orders maximum security around hospitals, schools, and other critical assets. Avoid social media posts, VC warns students. Gunmen invade school, kill teacher in Nasarawa. Ariwa Youth Plan protest demand NSA sack. Buhari El-Rufai kidnapped, threat by terrorists, grave danger to Nigerian peace and unity. This is coming from Farubi. And to say, I remember the first time when that threat was given, and I said we really need to do something about that, because if we're having the #1 citizen being threatened to kidnap, then what tells of the life of normal Nigerians? Because present time is everybody's at stake. And, people have said, we've had so many rumors trending around. I think I came across one on Facebook where somebody said in 2023, if care is not taken, 3 things will happen. It's either we're going to have a coup in Nigeria, or it's either the the headsmen will take over the country or there will be no election. And I say, God forbid, for such a threat, because none of this is really what we want for Nigeria. And we saw where the president even said he's not planning to extend his tenure beyond, 2023, May 2023, where we'll be having the swearing of another new president. But that can only be possible if we put our foot down and do what is expected. If we are seeing that there should be maximum security in our hospitals, so we've had issues where hospitals have been taken over by terrorists. We've had issues whereby schools in Yobe and Borno, the students are no longer going to school. We saw the issue where CBN had to even sanction Trust TV, Star Times and others for 5 million naira. Why? Because they showed a video what is happening in Zamfara. And we said that this is beyond what we see in our papers. If you watch that clip, you know that there is more to what is written on our papers. Now, if we're having issues where they have to be maximum security, then we have to be serious about security. I was excited throughout last week where we saw our papers that the Air Force were really, really up on their game, trying to make sure that there is security. But we cannot just depend on them. They cannot be everywhere. And that's why we had where state governments and others say, why don't we sign in the state policing? Because this can be the only way forward where we can see that there's peace and there's also unity in Nigeria. When we are not united, we cannot have the 2023 election. When we are not united, we cannot be even peaceful or even have security around us. So I just hope that we'll come to that, that point whereby everywhere will be, there will be peace and also there will be security. That is the only way where 2023 election will be free, will be fair. We don't want to have issue where we hear a particular part of the country did not hold their election. Why? Because there was one terrorist attack or the other, and that stopped them from going. Now, if you look at the 7 million that are yet to, INEC would definitely have an excuse why they cannot continue, because they'll say they're trying to, wrap up, because for October, November, everybody's supposed to have his permanent voters card for those who are giving the temporary one. So I just hope that all this will be rounded up, and at the end of the day, we'll be able to have a Nigeria that we all dream of, because this is the only country we have, Nigeria. You cannot go anywhere and brag the way you are right now. You can only brag about being in Nigeria. So I just hope that that will be the narrative at the end of the day. Still on New Telegraph newspaper, and this is the issue, case of Ekweremadu. Ohaneze disagree with Malami, says the federal government can interfere. Views the ex-deputy Senate president full disclosure in visa application as proof of non-criminal intent. Detail found on page 5. NUPRC says that why Nigeria must monetize its gas resources. You can read more of that on page 5. NSITF under fire in Senate over unexplained 17.128 billion expenditure, with more found on page 25. And here we're seeing Nigeria not paradise but not hell. This is coming from Oyanyika, and he urges the youth to detest from dangerous journeys in search of greener pasture. How unplanned migration undermine Nigerians' growth and threaten the federal government to address unemployment or face the consequences. This is coming from the legislators urging the youth. Downside of the paper, we have a study, so you can do well to get the New Telegraph newspaper and read any of the story that is of interest to you.
On the Punch newspaper, 7-month cashless transactions rise 41%, hit 210 trillion naira. Caution your supporters, police warn presidential candidates and others. The rider says 27 killed in 28 political incidents in 7 months. For Ekweremadu, Ohaneze faults Malami 6 federal government intervention. Raid bushes, uncompleted buildings, IG orders policemen. The big story on economic crisis, Nigerians' 9 trillion naira oil revenue threatened. Federal government blames theft. Oil production crisis by over 28 million barrels. Government misses revenue target. Curb oil theft, cut recurrent expenditure to avoid bankruptcy, expert tells the federal government. 18 terminal operators owes federal government $753 million and 1.61 billion naira. This is coming from the Accountant General of the Federation as rep summons NPA boss. Lagos-Ibadan construction, convention ground traffic as police ban hawking. Monkeypox spreads to 27 states. Cases now 172. Details can be found in page 10. Find Mapoli students, killer. Abiodun orders police and orders. Emotions, political relevance, validity have expired. This is coming from an APC spokesman, and that's all on the Punch newspaper.
And on the Inquirer, we have the Northwest lead as Nigerians kidnaps heaven. The writer say Kaduna tops in kidnapping, casualty, and ransom payment. And you see, just in this the first half of the year already, to see we have over 300 being kidnapped in Nigeria. Not to talk about, if we're going to look at the likes of Zamfara, the likes of Kaduna, that have become the soft spots for all this. So we just hope that at the federal level something will be done, at the state level something will be done, and also at the local government level something will be done about kidnapping, because it's already here that the Northwest leads in all this. So you begin to ask questions: what are the governors, what are the security agencies in that part of the country, what are they doing to make sure that kidnap has become a story of the past? Backwards then, when you hear about kidnapping, it is far south, you hear of all the, and then we talk about terrorist attack, you hear it down the north side here. But right now, no place is left out when it comes to the issues of all this. So we hope that something will be done at these various levels so that we'll be able to have a Nigeria that we all want. Still on the Inquirer, we have the AMAC, Senior Citizens Demand Probe of Tribunal Judges, with detail found on page 5. FCTA lament the poor funding of education, 6 alternatives. Detail found on page 6. You can only reconcile the reconcilable. This is coming from Abdullahi Adamu, with more found on page 8. Nigerians broadband penetration hits 44.5%, with detail found on page 11. The big story here says 29 billion naira ground rent. FCTA lists 430 title holders for prosecution. With the rider, 5 law firms contracted. Court process starts August ending. You can read more of that on page 3. And we have University of Abuja Teaching Hospital, no outbreak of Boji virus in our facilities. And that's all on the Inquirer.
On the Daily Trust newspaper, 140 days after, federal government loses 3 billion naira on halted Kaduna-Abuja train service. The riders following saying, "I closed my shop and laid off staff." This is coming from a restaurant. Clear terrorist cell to ease resumption from a security expert, and how disruption will affect loan payment. APC Muslim ticket, Sean sentiment, vote quality leader. This is coming from Idowu Fearon. And 50 killed, many displaced as flood wreak havoc in Jigawa. Many terrorists killed in Niger, Kaduna airstrike. And we have the total lost in 140 days, which is 3.2 billion naira, and numbers of daily trips that's coming from the train services. We're supposed to have 8 numbers of daily trips per day, and numbers of passengers per trip 900 to 1,000. Economic tickets, it's from 2,800 to 3,000 naira, while VIP ticket is 6,000 naira. And breakdown of ticket sales at 3,000 a ticket, we have the minimum revenue of per trip 2.7 million naira. The total revenue in 8 trips 21.6 million naira, and total revenue in 1 week 151.1 million naira, and total loss in the last 4 months since train services were suspended 600 million naira monthly. And we see the trip like in Kaduna State from Rigasa, where the train station in Kaduna State, and we see the amount of money that we have lost as a result of the shutdown in train services and even in the train transportation, as a result of the attack in the train station where people were kidnapped. And up to date, we still have some people that are still in this den of kidnappers. And now we see as a country, we've lost a lot of money on the issue where this train services have been stopped for the meantime. And we need to look into this, because we can't have the train commencing its activities where it is not safe for people. Nobody will even board this train because of the issue and even the stories behind the train services. So we need to look out for ways we can tackle this issue of insecurity. If security is restored fully in our country, people will see where even the flight for the first class we have is ranging to ₦1 million. So people will look out for alternative means of transportation. We see for the train services, we see for the road transportation, none is safe at this point. So we need to look into security. That's why the fact that we are losing a lot amount of money that will help us even in growth and development. Imagine for a month now we've lost up to 600 million naira, and this money, if gotten, will be used. It will help us even as a federal level, even the state where the transportation is holding, even in Kaduna State. So we need to look into security, because we can't thrive when security is handled with levity. We keep on talking about this issue of security. If it's handled, everything will thrive, Sele, because if security is handled, we will look out for ways all these things can move. But with all these things, and insecurity is still the order of the day, nothing will move, because these terrorists will have a free hand in interrupting all the smooth development and even the smooth transportation. So we need to look into this. The fact that we are losing this amount of money, but we need to just focus on how we can restore security in our country. Then if we can restore this, then we'll look into other ways where we can develop other ways infrastructure can be looked into. We just hope that something will be done coming from Kaduna State and even coming from the federal capital on how we can restore security back. Then we'll look into how we can develop even in different key sectors in our country. That's all on the Daily Trust.
And on Nigerian Tribune, we have foreign carriers trap funds in Nigeria hit $600 million, may jump to $1 billion by December. You can read more of that on page 6. Atiku Wike camps meet in Abuja over the PDP crisis, as 5 PDP governors strategize in France, where we hope that this will actually bring peace and unity finally in the PDP. Other stories still on the paper: flush out criminals among you. And this is coming from Akira Dodo, who wants berries in Ondo. NDLA uncovers 442 parcels of meth in smoked fish at the Lagos airport. And on Ekiti, PDP reject one-man leadership, adopts collegiate style, with more found on page 23. The big story: federal government borrows 19.3 trillion naira from CBN in 7 years. With the borrowing fueling inflation, could reach 22.6 trillion naira by year end. This is coming from experts. Disquiet in APC over Adamu's refusal to refund nomination fees, with detail found on page 25. We remember during the primaries, the president actually promised that for those who actually have gotten the nomination form, he told them to step outside the chairmanship could be given to Abdullahi Adamu, and they promised to refund the money back to those who have actually, paid money for that. And we're seeing that there have been some issue and over it. So we just hope that we'll keep our fingers crossed concerning what is happening in the APC, and we hope that the funds will be returned. I just hope it will not be the issue where Garba Shehu said that it is his desire that they leave this money to be able to fund the party. But if the president have actually promised that he will return back the money to the people who actually obtained the nomination from, then I think that it will only be noble if his words are carried out and then they return the money at the end of the day. You can actually read detail of that on page 25. Still on Nigerian Tribune, IGP orders tight security around schools, hospitals, and others. And the Ohanaeze is saying the Ohanaeze Indibo tackles Malami over Aquarium Mado's trial. How insecurity, diesel unavailability hampered $2 billion rail investment, with federal government loses over 1 billion naira in 4 months on Abuja-Kaduna route. Military pounds terrorists in Abuja and Kaduna forests. Troops airstrike kill over 200 terrorists in 1 week. And this is really a good one. You can actually read more of that on page 4. We actually have a picture story here too, where some repentant Boko Haram members are engaging in sanitation exercise in their camp, organized by Center for Democracy and Development in Maiduguri, Borno State, at the weekend, where we actually hope that they have truly repented and they will not just serve as an, be like an eye for those who are outside. We actually hope that they will be full up and actually be sure that they have repented. And that's all on Nigeria Nigerian Tribal.
Thank you very much, Sele. Well, at this point, we'll be right back after this timeout. Still on the dailies. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying tuned. I remain Owolabi Tosin. At this point, our phone lines are open. Do well to call us, to tell us stories that interest you. What's your take on Serap telling INEC to continue the voters' registration? And also the money Nigeria have lost concerning the shutdown in train services, still narrowing down to issues of insecurity. We'd like you to call us and also drop your comments on our Facebook and YouTube pages. I'd like to take a comment from Pam JC. He says, good morning, Sele and Tosin. Good morning. Please drop your comments and we will read it real time. I'm still doing this with Sele Elisha. Thank you, Sele.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I'd like to take the next story, which is on the next paper, which is the Blueprint newspaper. And we have Blueprint annual lecture. Award holds by tomorrow. Bello Tambuwal Abdurazak Fintiri Fayemi listed for honor. UN Deputy Scribe, African Development Boss Okonjo Iweala also listed for honor. CDS Irabo Buratai Sadiq Bag Security Icon Award. Terrorists in disarray as NAF bombard Kaduna and Niger. Gunmen invade Nasarawa School, kill teacher, and IGP orders watertight security in FCT schools, hospitals, and others. Arewa youth to protest against Mongono on Wednesday, and Mogalu says our territorial integrity shrinking under terrorism. Details can be found in page 6 of the Blueprint newspaper. Imo to replace Ibubeagu with vigilante outfit, and this is really good. We see where different states now are clamoring for security outfit, just like we have the Amotekun, and now we see what is happening in Benue State with the security outfit, and we see where different states are clamoring that they need something like this. You see where Sokapu is also saying, telling the Kaduna State governor that he should have a security outfit where they can work hand in hand with the police. And we see where Imo have replaced Ibubeagu with another vigilante outfit. We just hope that other states will look into this and look out for ways they can fight this issue of insecurity, even from the state level, because we see where people are being killed on a daily basis, people are kidnapped on a daily basis. So as a state, we need to look out for ways we can fight this issue of insecurity. That's why the fact that the government is doing theirs, we have the NAF, we have the army working concerning tackling this issue of insecurity. But even as a state, we should not be relaxed. We should not fold our arms and leave everything to our security. We need to have our own outfit where we can fight this issue of insecurity also. And rumpus in APC over March 26 convention nomination fee. NSITF under fire in Senate over 17.128 billion naira spending, and CBN to deepen adoption of e-naira in new partnership with AFF. For PDP crisis, Wike Atiku committee meets today. An FCT police smashed 2 robbery syndicates. NAB 6 recovers 76 laptop. Details can be found in page 6, and that's all on the Blueprint newspaper.
And on the Leadership newspaper, he wants Ekweremadu's case transferred to Nigeria, with more found on page 6. And we have some briefing, some fact check. Did Wike take PDP Atiku to court? Well, you want 2022 of our 17.1 billion naira spending. NSITF tells the Senate. You can read more of that on page 7. The big story on watertight security directive. Expert asks IGP to go beyond empty orders, memo disclosure. With the writer, IGP acted on intelligence reports. This is coming from the police authorities. operatives to embark on stop and search raid show of force. And I'm really happy that actually everything will be stop and check, to look at the security of lives and properties. Deployment will create public confidence, says the ex-CB Alobi. Use high-tech to fight criminal element. This is coming from the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, with more of the stories found on page 4. 29 billion naira ground rent, FCTA to prosecute 413 defaulters. And tension grows as Kenyans wait for presidential election results. And that is an international story. You can read more of that on page 4. Syrup to INEC allows 7 million Nigerians complete the voter registration. We have a picture story here, a cross-section of the Northern Governor's wife and the Ekiti Governor's wife during the meeting of Northern Governor's Wives Forum of Sports during the weekend. So you can actually look up for the Leadership newspaper and read detail of any of the stories that's of interest to you.
Moving over to this day, we have NNPCL's debt to federal government. State hit 1.55 trillion naira in 6 months as pipeline security maintenance gulp 8.35 billion naira in 1 month. Saudi Aramco's revenue surged 90%, climbed to 48.4 billion naira in second quarter. Federal government $400 million required to complete abandoned Millennium Tower. Details can be found in page 10 of the This Day newspaper. And Peterside, first year of Nigeria's next president, may be about blood, sweat and tears. Police launch ground offensive against criminals nationwide, orders tight security around schools, hospitals, public infrastructure, and Nigerian Air Force fighter jets hit terrorist enclave in Niger. Wike's camp insists Ayu's austere, irreducible condition for peace, demands to pick choice of successors, urge Mark to speak up since he's with chairman's resignation letter. An article paints gloomy picture of Nigeria, describes current statistics as grim and disappointing. PDP group dismisses Tinubu's presidency as Buhari's third term. A picture story on one-year memorial lecture in honor of Captain Okumbo. An audit report, Senate probes NSITF over 17.128 billion naira unexplained spending. With full details in page 12 of this day newspaper. Over to you, Sele.
The Vanguard newspaper have this to say. We have a presidential interview of Okowa, and he said our agenda to unite and rebuild Nigeria. So you can look up for that presidential interview on page 14 of the Vanguard newspaper. Windstorm killed 50 in Jigawa. And on compensation, state could lose road projects over unreasonable demand. This is coming from Fashola. APC crisis, plot to us Adamu chickens, with more found on page 7. And on PDP crisis, party governors move to reconcile Atiku and Wike to hold meeting in Adamawa. Governor Fitire says as neutral. Wike not against reconciliation. Ex-Northern governor, ex-military brace, frustrating peace move. This is coming from a PDP source. Says it's an insult to give the Southwest DG position. It's risky for IU to go few months to the polls, and those plotting the PDP downfall fueling Atiku and Wike feel. Detail of that can be found on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. And on stock market, foreign investors returned participation by 9.7% to 234 billion naira. Contribution to total market value dips 14.6%. Comeback trend unsustainable due to policy and politics. Others. This is an analysis, and you can check the foreign portfolio investment, and you can actually see the graph there. So for those who are interested, you can check inside of the Vanguard newspaper and read detail of that. 18 terminal operators owe federal government $758 million. 1.61 billion naira. This is coming from reps. and how El-Rufai PDP Northwest caucus demand key position in government from Tinubu. Demanded the VP, SGF, Finance, FCT, Works, and NLC, and others. So to read more of that, you can check that story on page 35. And discourse, we have BPE, CBN gives bank 6-month deadline to quit. More of that can be found on page 8. And bandit kidnap Catholic priest, demand 50 million naira ransom. You can read more of that also on page 6. And on economic challenges, NECA asks federal government to reprisal, highlight fiscal with monetary policies. Detail found on page 7. And on insecurity, IGP orders watertight security around schools, hospitals, and others, with detail found on page 7. And that's all on the Vanguard newspaper.
On the Daily Sun newspaper, NAPTAN asks union to consider plight of parents as ASU strike enters 6 months. How APC Northwest Governor caucus demanded post of VP, SGF, NSA key ministers from Tinubu as they boast of region's importance to electoral victory and game-changing status. A picture story to Chief of Defense Staff General Lucky Irabo and his wife Vicky, the former Chief of Defense Staff General Abayomi Olonishakin and his wife Omobolanle, and the presidential candidate of Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, during the Holy Ghost Convention service of the Redeemed Christian Church of God in Mowe, Ogun State. 3.8 billion naira suit, ex-militant leaders cautions Justice Ministry officials against sabotage. Nigeria lost over $1.9 million in 5 days to gas supply disruption, says Obaseki. Bandits abduct Abia Catholic priest, demand 50 million naira ransom. NAF bombards terrorist enclaves, kills scores in Niger, and IGP orders watertight security in schools, hospitals, and others. For 2023, we will resist rigging and vote buying. This is coming from INEC. Claims elite community leaders enable electoral fraud. Federal government goes tough on crude oil thieves to rescue economy, rejigs security architecture, unveils command center whistleblowing policy. And details can be found in page 29. The big story says Atiku, Wike comes in Make and Ma meeting. Demands for IU's resignation as a top agenda. Ebonyi APC expels Umahi's opponent for senatorial ticket. And Ohaneze to the federal government, don't abandon Ekweremadu, seek transfer of case to Nigeria. That's all on the Daily Sun paper.
Another Nation newspaper, kidnap Kimpi, Wadume, and others get 7 years jail term. Detail found on page 6. Ondo, Edo, 3 others record 13 new Lassa fever cases, with detail of that on page 22. And Ohaneze have ordered the federal government should wade into Kweremado's case. 18 terminal operators owe the federal government $753 million, 1.61 billion naira. Still on the Nation newspaper, Custom intercept 234 tons of fertilizer at Nigerian-Cameroon border. Southeast, South youths begin mobilization for Tinubu. Foriro over the Muslim ticket unnecessary. You can read more of that on page 4. And anger in APC over non-refund of nomination fees. The big story here, IG raises alarm over plot to attack public facilities. The DCO abducted in Abia, gunmen invade school, kill teacher in Nasarawa. And the IG Kali have this to say to Nigerians. He said, Nigerians are hereby urged to cooperate with the police as many operatives will be seen as strategic areas, routers, and communities in order to suppress the criminal activities of men of the underworld. So I think this is an eye-opener and also enlightenment to everyone that when you're stopped, whether in your car or anything, you should cooperate and also be very vigilant to be sure that they're actually men of the Nigerian force and not people coming in disguise as the Nigerian force. Downside of the paper, why vote buying is increasing. You can read more of that on page 5. The last story here says foreign airlines fear currency devaluation. More of this can be found on page 5 also. And that's all on the Nation newspaper.
And on the Guardian newspaper, returnee excretes 77 wraps of cocaine at Enugu airport. No Marburg virus disease outbreak in Nigeria, NCDC confirms. Stop prolonged audits, inaugurate NDDC board, unionist tells Buhari. Flood kills 50, displaced hundreds in Jigawa, and only 6 out of 54 auto assembly plants running below capacity. As stakeholders list Forex inconsistent policies as challenges. We have since converted our staff in assembly plants to after sales, says CFAO DMD. Aspirants drag APC over refund of nomination fees as party expels Umahi's opponent. And the last story on the Guardian, troops rescue another Chibok girl, 3 others in Borno. And that's all on the Guardian newspaper. And that's how far we can go on the program this morning. Thank you, Sele, for doing this with me. And thank you also to Pam JC for dropping his comment. Let's do this tomorrow, same time, same station. Nigeria Now comes immediately after this program. Thank you.